The demonstration gone wrong. The Academy above the stars. The Stellar Command Academy hung in the darkness like a jewel of silver and glass. It orbited two suns, the twin stars of Proxima Delta, which bathed the massive station in golden and crimson light. This was no ordinary school. This was where the galaxy's finest warriors came to learn. Young soldiers from 100 different worlds trained here. They learned strategy, combat, and diplomacy. The Academy existed for one reason: to prevent the next galactic war. Inside the station, corridors stretched for miles. They connected training halls, simulation chambers, and living quarters. Students from every corner of known space walked these halls. Some had scales, some had fur, others were made of crystal or pure energy. Each species brought its own strengths, its own traditions, its own pride. But today, something new had arrived. Something that made even the battle-hardened instructors nervous. Humanity had sent its first representative. Lieutenant Vexron's pride. Lieutenant Vexron stood in Training Hall 7, his chest swelling with confidence. He was Krillian, a species known throughout the galaxy as warriors without equal. His skin was deep blue, marked with silver patterns that glowed faintly in the light. These patterns told his family history. Every Krillian noble bore such marks. They showed bloodlines stretching back thousands of years. Vexron was tall, nearly 7 feet, with 4 arms that ended in sharp, precise fingers. His eyes were black and reflective like polished stones. When he moved, it was with the grace of someone who had trained since childhood. He wore the crimson uniform of a third-year tactical student. On his belt hung various weapons, each one a symbol of his mastery. Today was demonstration day. Each student would show their skill with an advanced weapon. Most would choose something safe, something approved for training. But Vexron had other plans. He wanted to make an impression. More specifically, he wanted to put the human in her place. The other students gathered around the training floor. There were Zenthari, tall and gray with compound eyes. There were Peltharians, small and quick with sensitive antennae. There were Morgothi, beings of living metal who rarely spoke. All of them watched as Vexron stepped into the center of the room. Instructor Thrace stood at the edge of the floor. He was a Zenthari veteran, his carapace scarred from real battles. His voice was deep and commanding when he spoke. Lieutenant Vexron will demonstrate advanced energy weapon handling. Proceed with caution. Vexron smiled. His teeth were sharp and white. Thank you, instructor. He reached for his belt and pulled free a cylinder about a foot long. It was made of dark metal, inlaid with the same silver patterns that marked his skin. This was no academy weapon. This was a family heirloom. The human watches. Corporal Maya Chen stood with the other students, but she stood apart. At 5 feet 6 inches, she was shorter than most aliens in the room. Her skin was tan, her hair black and pulled back in a simple bun. She wore the gray uniform of a first-year exchange officer. The Earth insignia on her shoulder looked plain compared to the elaborate symbols of other species. Maya had arrived at the Academy 3 weeks ago. She was the first human ever accepted into the program. Earth was new to the galactic community. Humans had only achieved faster-than-light travel 20 years earlier. Most species in the Academy came from civilizations thousands or millions of years old. Humanity was the newcomer, the outsider, the unknown factor. The other students had kept their distance. Some were curious, most were cautious. Humans had a reputation. Their planet was classified as a death world, a place where survival required constant adaptation. The galactic community had studied human history. What they found disturbed them. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself multiple times. Wars, plagues, natural disasters. Yet somehow, humans always survived. They always rebuilt. They always kept going. Maya watched Vexron with calm eyes. She had noticed his attention over the past weeks, the way he made comments just loud enough for her to hear, the way he positioned himself to block her path. the way he looked at her like she was something that needed to be crushed. She understood. She had dealt with bullies before. Vexron activated the cylinder. Energy crackled to life. A stream of plasma extended from the device, contained by a magnetic field that glowed brilliant purple. The plasma whip was 10 feet long and hummed with power. The temperature inside the field was hot enough to cut through starship hull plating. Everyone in the room took a step back. Everyone except Maya. The challenge. Vexron let the whip coil and uncoil in his primary hands. He was skilled, that much was obvious. The weapon moved like a living thing under his control. He cracked it once, and the sound was like thunder. The air itself seemed to scream. "Beautiful, is it not?" Vexron's voice carried across the room, his black eyes fixed on Maya. "This weapon has been in my family for 12 generations. Only those who have mastered combat may wield it. To hold it requires strength. To control it requires discipline. To face it requires courage." The challenge in his words was clear. Maya did not respond. She simply watched. Instructor Thrace stepped forward. "Lieutenant, that weapon is not approved for training exercises. Deactivate it immediately." Vexron's smile widened. "Of course, Instructor. I merely wish to demonstrate proper form. But perhaps our human guest would like to see it close up. I have heard that Terrans are supposed to be warriors, that your species fights constantly. Yet I see no proof of this." The room went quiet. Every student understood what was happening. This was a test. This was Vexron establishing dominance over the newcomer. Maya tilted her head slightly. "I can see it fine from here, thank you." "Can you?" Vexron took a step toward her. The whip hummed louder. "I wonder if humans truly understand danger. Your species is so young. You have not faced real threats, not like we have. Perhaps you need a closer look to appreciate what real weapons can do." Instructor Thrace's voice sharpened. "Lieutenant Vexron, stand down! That is an order!" But Vexron was not listening. He was focused entirely on Maya, his pride wounded by her lack of reaction. He wanted fear. He wanted respect. He wanted acknowledgement that he was superior. He flicked his wrist. The plasma whip lashed out. The whip moved faster than most species could track. It wrapped around Maya's left arm in a spiral of purple fire. The magnetic field should have burned through flesh instantly. The plasma inside should have cooked muscle and bone. This was a weapon designed to kill in fractions of a second. The room held its breath. Maya looked down at her arm. The whip was coiled around it, glowing and crackling. She could feel the heat. It was intense, like holding her arm over an open flame. Her skin was already blistering. The pain was sharp and insistent, sending signals to her brain that something was very wrong. She frowned slightly. "Huh, that's warmer than I expected." Then she reached over with her right hand and grabbed the whip. Vexron's eyes widened. "What are you doing? Release it!" Maya ignored him. She could feel the magnetic field vibrating against her palm. It was unstable, oscillating at the wrong frequency. The containment was flawed. She had noticed it the moment the weapon activated. The field generators were old, not properly calibrated. That made the weapon dangerous not just to its target, but to anyone nearby if it failed. She twisted her wrist, applying pressure at the exact point where the field was weakest. The plasma whip shattered. There was no other word for it. The magnetic containment collapsed like breaking glass. The purple energy dissipated into the air with a sound like a sigh. The whip itself, the physical cylinder in Vexron's hands, sparked and died. Emergency systems activated throughout the training hall. Alarms blared. Red warning lights flooded the room. Maya started to follow, but Instructor Thrace held up one hand. "Not you, Corporal. You stay." Vexron also remained, still staring at the dead weapon in Maya's hands. The aftermath.
Chen leaned forward slightly. "But, Commander, perfection can be a trap. When you stop asking what's next, you stop growing. You stop innovating. You become predictable. Vorath felt a flicker of irritation. This human was lecturing him? Captain Chen, you seem to misunderstand your situation. You're facing the most powerful military force in this region of space. Your bravado is— Commander, Chen interrupted, her tone sharpening. I'm not being brave. I'm trying to save lives. Yours. I strongly advise you to withdraw your fleet immediately and request formal diplomatic channels. What you're seeing in our system, our satellites, our stations, our small craft, that's not our military. That's civilian infrastructure. Then where is your military? Vorath demanded, though he already knew the answer. His sensors had detected no significant warships, no battle stations, no planetary defense grid worthy of the name. Captain Chen's expression shifted, and for the first time, Vorath saw something that made his scales prickle. Pity. Commander, you're not prepared for this engagement. Your empire has been dominant for so long that you've forgotten what it means to be afraid. Humanity spent its entire existence being afraid. Afraid of the dark, afraid of extinction, afraid of being alone in the universe, afraid of not being alone in the universe. That fear drove us. 200 years ago, we split the atom because we were afraid of each other. 150 years ago, we developed quantum computers because we were afraid we weren't thinking fast enough. 70 years ago, we manipulated gravity because we were afraid we'd never reach the stars. 40 years ago, we achieved dimensional folding because we were afraid that conventional space travel wasn't enough. She paused, letting her words sink in. We didn't perfect what we knew, Commander. We kept reinventing everything from scratch, over and over, because we were terrified that standing still meant death. Vorath's confidence wavered for just a moment. Something about the human's certainty disturbed him, but he had not conquered 63 worlds by second-guessing himself. Your time has expired, Captain Chen, he said coldly. You've chosen resistance. All fleet units, prepare for planetary bombardment. Target their orbital infrastructure first. Show them the price of defiance. Reality fractures. 150 warships activated their primary weapons. Plasma cannons began their charge cycles. Fusion missiles armed themselves. Targeting computers locked onto Earth's satellites and space stations. The Eternal Flame's main graviton beam powered up, a weapon capable of cracking a planet's crust. Fire on my mark, Vorath commanded. 3, 2, and then reality flickered. It was the only word Vorath's mind could form for what happened next. Space itself seemed to ripple, like the surface of water disturbed by a stone. His sensors screamed warnings, but the data made no sense. Localized space-time distortion, quantum probability cascade, dimensional intersection. Terms that meant nothing in combination. And then, with absolutely no warning, no energy buildup, no detectable approach, a ship appeared. It didn't decloak. It didn't emerge from hyperspace. It simply wasn't there 1 microsecond and was there the next, materializing 300 meters off the Eternal Flame's starboard side. Utterly impossible, according to every law of physics the Kratheon understood. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of Vorath's flagship. Its hull seemed to shimmer, as if it existed slightly out of phase with normal space. There were no obvious weapons ports, no shield emitters, no conventional propulsion systems. The ship looked wrong, like something from a dream or a nightmare. All weapons fire on that vessel, Vorath screamed. The Eternal Flame's plasma cannons unleashed their fury, streams of superheated matter capable of melting through 10 meters of solid steel. The bolts struck the human warship and simply vanished, disappearing as if swallowed by an invisible mouth. The fusion missiles that followed suffered the same fate, winking out of existence the moment they contacted the ship's hull. Shields are having no effect, Commander, reported the tactical officer, his voice climbing toward panic. The vessel isn't blocking our attacks, it's making them not exist. Then the human ship responded. What happened next would haunt Vorath for the rest of his life. The human vessel didn't fire energy weapons, it didn't launch projectiles. Instead, a section of the Eternal Flame's hull simply ceased to exist. A perfect circular void, 200 meters in diameter, appeared in the starboard side. Not an explosion, not a burn-through, the matter was just gone. Then another circle vanished from the port side, then another from the forward section. The human ship was carving perfect spherical holes through the Dominion flagship as if it were made of smoke. Evasive maneuvers, Vorath shouted, but his ship couldn't move fast enough, and it didn't matter because 17 more human warships flickered into existence throughout the fleet formation, appearing from nowhere, surrounding the Dominion armada in impossible geometric patterns. The slaughter began. The Krathian Dominion fleet, representing 5,000 years of military evolution and unchallenged supremacy, lasted 93 seconds. The human vessels moved through three-dimensional space like predators through water, phasing in and out of reality, appearing behind targets, firing their probability erasure weapons, and vanishing before return fire could be attempted. Dominion warships didn't explode in glorious fireballs. They simply ceased to exist, erased from reality one section at a time. Vorath watched in horror as his fleet dissolved around him. The battlecruiser Crimson Dawn, gone. The carrier group Delta Squadron, gone. Admiral Kesh's command ship, gone. In seconds, a century of shipbuilding and thousands of lives simply deleted from existence. Retreat, Vorath finally managed to scream. Emergency hyperspace jump, all remaining vessels. The survivors, 41 ships out of 150, desperately opened hyperspace portals and fled. The human warships didn't pursue, they simply vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, folding back into whatever impossible dimension they called home. The eternal flame, crippled but functional, limped away from the Sol system. Vorath stared at the tactical display, his hands trembling. In 93 seconds, he had learned the most painful lesson of his life. The Krathian Dominion was not invincible, and somewhere in this galaxy, a species existed that made his ancient empire look like children playing with toys. Captain Sarah Chen's final transmission played on a loop in his mind. "We tried to warn you, Commander. You just witnessed what happens when fear drives innovation for 200 years. Your empire stopped being afraid. We never did."